When I was in middle school, about 15 years ago, you don't need to do the math, just trust me, it was about 15 years ago. I bought a book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And to this day, I think it is the most helpful drawing book I ever bought. How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way taught me how to draw superheroes, but it taught me a lot more. It taught me how to draw the human body, become familiar with the bones and muscles, how to shade to make objects look more solid and real, how to apply basic perspective, but more than anything else, the book taught me how to draw lightly. To start out with stick figures. Keep your lines light and loose and gradually build up on those stick figures with circles, ovals, and squares until the object looks real and solid. Being patient and leaving the details and the dark lines to the very end. Applying this helped me with drawing not only superheroes, but everything I wanted to draw. And I apply those rules to just about everything that I draw today. Now here are two stick figures that should look familiar to anybody who's watched any of my videos in the past. These are the two Cougar Strong kids that are featured at the little animated segment at the beginning of my videos. And they already have their basic shapes. She's shaped like a triangle because she's wearing a dress, and he's also shaped kind of like a triangle because he's got nice broad shoulders and a small waist. But we're going to add to these stick figures to make it look a little more realistic, a little bit more detailed. And you're going to see, hopefully, that just by adding a little bit of thickness to these stick figures, they're going to look much more realistic. Now, as I draw her legs, they're pretty much rectangles, except they get a little bit smaller near the ankle. The same thing is going to be true with the arms. The skinniest part of the arm is going to be down around the wrist. Now, we're going to make her shoulders a little bit broader. But hopefully you can see how the transition from stick figure to solid looking figure is really not that big a leap. I'm going to give her a neck. I'm going to make her waist a little bit smaller. Maybe put a belt on her dress. And as I like the lines that I draw, I'm going to make them a little bit darker and then get rid of the lines that I find I don't need. Now, her head and his head are both circles. And we know that even people who have round heads don't really have round heads. They're shaped much more like ovals or eggs. So I'm going to keep the same basic size, but I'm going to make them a little bit skinnier. And again, because so many of these lines are light and loose, I just get rid of the ones that I don't want and build up on the ones that I do like. With my boy, his waist, well, we want it small, maybe not quite that small. So I'm going to make it a little bit wider here, make his body a little bit more like a rectangle rather than just a triangle, and make those skinny stick legs just a little bit thicker, and again, a little bit smaller along the ankle. Once I have the basic shape of my figure, all I have to do is erase my guidelines and add some detail. So there they are in full detail, if not full color. And I like them better with the details. But the most important part of this drawing, the most important part of this whole lesson was keeping your lines light and loose. Starting out with that light stick figure and then building up those shapes as you go. If you get the basic proportions correct and you save the details and the dark lines to the very end, you're going to find it's going to help you with your drawings. Not only with superheroes, but anything else that you may draw. Well, I had so much fun doing those last two stick figures that I thought I would do two more. And I'm trying to demonstrate with this drawing that using stick figures will really help you out quite a bit, especially if you're doing figures who are in action poses. So these two are playing football, and as of right now, all I've done is draw the stick figures. So I'm going to build up on those basic shapes. The torso is kind of like a rectangle. The arms, like I said before, get a little bit smaller around the waist, and they're biggest around the shoulder. The thighs tend to be a little bit larger. The calves are smaller, and the smallest part of the calves is around the ankle. But again, until I worry about any dark lines or any details, I want to make sure that I've got the basic shape. Here's my ponytail, because in this picture, the girl is throwing the football. And the boy is the receiver saying, "Look at me, I'm open." And all I'm doing is making those stick figures a little bit thicker. Once I've got the basic shapes, and only after I have the basic shapes that I'm happy with, do I start adding dark lines and details. So here are my two action figures fully fleshed out, but just like the previous drawing, they started out with those stick figures. That's the most important thing that I can say to you today, is start out with those light, loose stick figures and then build up, do the details and the dark lines last. A couple other little tips to put in this drawing is I put her number a little bit off center to make her body look slightly turned. And in the same way, I have his arms slightly covering up his body and his body slightly covering up his other arm. His leg is slightly covering up the other leg. And again, that makes his body look slightly turned. So I hope you had fun with this video. I hope you have fun with your drawings, because if there's one thing that I can emphasize today more than drawing lightly is to keep practicing. Drawing is like any other skill. Playing football, playing piano, it takes practice. You're not going to get better just by watching a video. So I hope you keep practicing. I hope you share your artwork with me, that you stay cougar strong, you stay connected, stay creative, and be good. We'll see you soon.